Howdy. Good evening. Welcome to a show. So I'm going to be reviewing, as usual, some. I'm going to be handling some of that Darth Dawkins derangement that I suffer from, and looking at a video from Tom Rabbittt after it, because the Darth Dawkins video I've got here is kind of a short one. Looking at one that features a Darth Dawkins acolyte named Bart, or Barthology, or Barthology Plus. Don't really have a lot of context for these ones other than that Darth hasn't been very active lately, which not a big deal. Neither have I. I've been kind of out of commission, busy with work, busy with life stuff, and so it just kind of got out of hand. And Yeah, between that and it just kind of lost track of time. So I wanted to do this one a while ago because this one came out from the last video that I did. And I think Darth Dawkins was talking to a guy named Axel. This is part of the same one. I think the Solan guy comes on. It came on after that Axel guy, so it's part of the same room. And I don't know how interesting this conversation is going to be, so I'm probably going to crank this up to about 1.25, and we'll just kind of say I think this is going to be kind of the usual boring kind of crap, but maybe he'll drop a nugget, so to speak, and yeah, we can see what's going on there. Um, anyway, let me say hello to some people in the live chat. Michael Deaton, good to see you. Clout, the Monk, Soulless Ape, Scuba Diver, some guy named Bob, Kyle Ferguson, Space Lord, Gurr. You're 5 minutes late. I want a refund. Well, if you had to pay to watch this, then maybe something's wrong. So check with your wallet inspector. Find out whether they're charging you to watch my stuff. Michael Deaton again. Digital Hammer Rabbit, you've been running from me, Jefferson Specka. You're right. I have been. Actually, in all seriousness, for Dr. Josh, I would like to set up. I'm going to check in with Peter, and I would like to set up kind of a professional interview with Dr. Josh and with Megan Lewis to chat with them about Dr. Josh's book. And Megan Lewis has been very active, um, hosting interviews with Bart Ehrman, among others. So they've been pretty busy lately. So it's been pretty cool. Krish, Rebecca, good to see you both. Lucky, Clive. And okay, let's do it. Yeah, we should set it up. Probably not until like I'm thinking like next month to give everybody time. You guys are probably busier than I am. But yeah, I got to get in touch with Peter Tucker and probably talk to him about it so we can set up something that looks pretty good. Peter likes to set up the professional looking things, and he knows that I'm interested in doing that. We've been talking about it for a while, and also I need to finish the last half of your second book because I think I've read the first half of it but haven't finished the rest of it. So it's been good. Um, but yeah, okay. So enough of me fanboying on Dr. Bowen and Megan Lewis. We'll get into this video. Darth, as usual, doesn't really have anything interesting to offer. Solan here. The Bart video at the end is pretty funny, but I will give some warnings to people. He is quite triggered in it. I think most of like any of the profanity and everything gets bleeped up by Tom Rabbittt, but there's no way around it. He loses it. He just loses his mind. So yeah, I'm really kind of looking forward to getting to that one. Um, all right, let's play this one and see what's going on. Darth Dawkins versus Solan. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Solan guy is no longer on Clubhouse. I wouldn't be. Oh wait, no, yeah, I'm not. I'm not on Clubhouse. All right, I almost forgot to shrink myself down. As usual, it sounds like I'm coming through fine. If the video's not working, start yelling at me in the side chat, and I will fix it. This should be set up and good to go.
Defensible. So, they pretend they have a temporary lobotomy. Go ahead, Solan.
Hey, hold on, just really quick. Darth, I just had it like an emergency call, so I'm going to probably listen and take off. But if you could just leave the replays on, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, sure, we'll do.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Solan.
I do want to say, I think this one might come across a little quiet on the other side. I have tried turning it up. I've tried maxing it out as much as I can. It's okay. I just checked. It's not too bad, but yeah, we'll see. All right. That being said, here we go.
I was just going to say that I don't think that Axel is true.
You don't think Axel what?
Affirmed that the not God world is true.
course he did.
Uh-oh.
I don't think he ever did. From what I
Yeah,
heard.
listen. I'm gonna kick you from the room if you're gonna pull the same bullshit. Okay.
Sorry, what?
Axel reluctantly admitted it.
Reluctant.
In the opening dialogue between myself and Axel, he admitted that the not God world is true. Weren't you here for that?
Yes, I was, but I never heard that. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay. So Solan, he affirmed that the not God world was true. Okay, Solan, what online atheists want to do is they want to wear the banner of atheism,
Mhm.
but then they want to play
Do
little
we?
definitional and head games that atheism is simply an autobiographical statement subsisting of a psychological state where they merely have an absence of positive belief in God, but
That's one. That's one of the definitions of atheism. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. What banner is it that we want to wear, and what does it look like? I would be kind of. That's a question to ask Chat GPT. I think maybe. Um, what does the banner of atheism look like, and how does one drape it across one's shoulders? Um, yeah, I remember 10 years ago when I started. My faith started kind of crumbling, and really the final thing, the final uh, nail in the coffin was just how cool that banner was, and I was like, I got to have that. So sorry, JC.
therein doesn't constitute the propositional denial of the existence of God. But I just showed the audience by a simple walkthrough that whether the individual realizes it or not, what they do affirm upon careful step by step analysis shows that they are denying God implicitly.
So what? So he does this all the time, and he talks about this. But when I was listening to this one kind of casually, because I'd honestly kind of forgotten about it, because it was one, it popped up right after the Axel one, and I kind of wanted to jump right back into it, but things got in the way, and I kind of lost track of time. And when I got back and listened to this one, I was like, is this one interesting at all? And it's like it's kind of typical, this is well trod ground for Darth, but. Um, I don't know if I've really harped on this before with him, but when he talks about denial, especially with these guys in this kind of apologist zone, there's a lot of different ways that he's using it, or there's lots of different ways that you can talk about denial, and the ways that he's talking about denial, when they're couched in some of the sentences he's using, he could be talking about denial in the sense that one is making a proposition or negating a proposition, so it's strictly logical or strictly rhetorical. He could be talking about denial in a psychological sense where you're in denial, kind of a Freudian thing, or he could be talking about the denial of the Holy Spirit in some kind of theological sense, which would involve, Pauline Christianity and kind of, the kind of Romans 1, everyone knows, this kind of thing. And then that denial of the Lord is an example of the noetic effects of sin. When he does this kind of thing, this is when anyone anywhere can call him out on the idea that he's concise with his language, because this isn't concise. He should pick a definition of what he means by denial. And my evidence for why I think he's doing this, or why I think this is happening, is because he will shift from, well, do you think this is an implicit or an explicit denial of God? Like it seems like he's trying to like hammer home this idea, like, well, is this or is this not happening in the rhetorical sense? If you state, you know, the world exists through deterministic forces, I think maybe one can say that there's something rhetorical there that might lead to one concluding that, okay, well, if you're not saying that God is necessary, then you're denying it. That seems to be it. If you can reach a tentative conclusion that things could be here without a God, then what you've done is you have implicitly affirmed the notion not of a God, but of a necessary one, which is what. And now Darth believes that the only fitting definition for a God is one that must necessarily exist, which I think is problematic. But I've talked about that before. But that seems to be it. That could okay. There might be something there in what he's talking about. But then he'll use these kinds of things where he'll get emotional after he has a back and forth and talk about how these atheists know and how these atheists are lying to him and they're obfuscating and they're dodging because they really do know. They're just denying it deep down. And that starts getting into these ideas about being in denial psychologically or experiencing denial because sin. So that's probably going to be about as in depth as I get on this analysis, because I don't think there's anywhere he can go with this guy other than this. But this denial bit that Darth really treads on is it's only clear in the sense that you understand that. And well, it's not clear because he's not consistent with it, because there are other times where he will, the one thing that he will say, the one thing that he seems to hold to, is a God that is necessary by definition because it's ultimate. Um, and the interesting thing about that is I don't know if those two things are required. I don't know if being ultimate requires, has necessity built into it. I could be wrong. Um, it probably does for most philosophers of religion. But anyway, if you could keep him in that mode, maybe you can kind of get that. But this is what really trips people up when he says this. Aren't you denying God? Well, when he's saying this, what they think about God is like, well, you mean any gods or the one God? Like, I'm not denying Zeus when I say that the world wasn't created. It wasn't created by the god Zeus. And then he'll say, well, God, Zeus isn't a necessarily existing being, therefore it's not really a god. It's and even if it existed, it was some kind of alien or something. I don't know what Darth thinks there, but that's pretty much it. So there can only be this one being, this one necessarily existing being, and to entertain the notion that it may not be is a denial of its existence at all.
Can God be denied implicitly, Solan?
Yes, it can.
Can God, well, atheists are trying to deny God, if that's what you mean.
Okay, Solan, can God be denied implicitly? Or is
No, wait,
is the denial of God only capable of being done explicitly rather than implicitly?
well, not if you define God, I guess. No,
I didn't hear you. You were breaking up.
sorry, my bad. No, you cannot deny God implicitly.
Okay, that's patently absurd. Okay.
Sorry, are we
What
supposed
if
Yeah, well, but see, I don't think Solan understands his definition. You would be implicitly denying a God that is necessary for the existence of everything else, maybe. But even then, I mean, I really do think this is kind of meaningless in the way that he's going about doing this. And he's like, well, that's patently absurd. Yeah, if we're trucking around in Darth's worldview, where the God necessarily exists. But for most other people, you're talking about an entity that is being added into the equation, not an entity that is necessary for everything else. And so until you can kind of ground that first, um, taking the approach that Darth's taking with Solon is misguided.
somebody
I
affirms?
think we agree.
What if okay, listen to me.
Yeah.
What if somebody affirms a proposition, and the proposition excludes the existence of God?
Then their position would be incoherent.
No, it's not. No, you're not understanding. Okay.
Okay.
The issue is not that their position is incoherent. The issue is God can be denied. So you're telling me nothing can be denied implicitly?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so why is it that God cannot be denied implicitly?
Well, I think the way I think that you understand God is that he's like the ground of all things. Then the
Okay,
foundation.
can you please answer the question, because I'm getting pissed with unbelievers like yourself who are.
I think Solon was on the right path there, and Darth is already trying to shut him down because, well, I mean, at this point, Darth has already lost patience and he's something of an idiot. So
Evasive and deceptive. Okay.
You don't know my position. You don't know if I'm an unbeliever.
Okay, Solan, I know that you're being deceptive and evasive with me. Okay. The fact of the matter is, the affirmation of God can be both direct and indirect. It can be explicit or implicit. The denial of God can be explicit and implicit. It can be direct or indirect.
But what I mean
Is naturalism incompatible with the God world?
is naturalism? Well, naturalism in the sense, if you're a naturalist in the sense that you deny the existence of the supernatural and God by definition is supernatural, then maybe, yeah, I think that would be. Um, I don't know that and I haven't seen a lot of arguments for this, but I kind of wonder if somebody could posit an idea of some kind of force, or a set of forces that could basically handle kind of all the necessary requirements to satisfy Darth's idea of a god, and then fulfill the kind of deterministic, you know, functions and procedures that happen in the course of natural existence. I mean, maybe it's not inconsistent, you know, a necessarily an ultimate being, but Darth would just do better to be straightforward with his terminology and start talking about how much he loves the supernatural and why the supernatural is necessary, because that's ultimately what he believes.
Naturalism incompatible with the
Do
God
you know what
world.
naturalism is?
No.
Naturalism is the position that only material or natural things exist.
Oh yeah, then they would be incompatible with the God hypothesis.
Right. If I asserted to you that nothing is ultimate,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and by ultimate I mean that something is singularly the source of all things,
Mm-hmm.
okay, excluding that which is ultimate, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I
And I kind of agree with you. I agree with you here. Look out for number one. The answer is no. If his God exists, so prove your God in the first place. Yeah, I would say. Okay, so if Darth is positing a necessarily existing being that is the ground of all being, that which everything depends upon and relies upon, not only for its initiation into the world, but its present maintenance, he would need to prove that. And the only thing that he has is an appeal to essentially an appeal to ignorance. Well, there has to be something maintaining it, and there had to be something that started it. What else could it be if not God? So no real evidence there. No good evidence anyway.
assert that nothing is ultimate, does that exclude the existence of God?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody asserts the proposition nothing is ultimate, is that an implicit denial of God?
I would say it's an explicit, given the definition.
No. Okay.
My
Solan, how old are you?
I don't know that Solan's wrong there. Given Darth's definition of it, if somebody says that there's nothing ultimate, I think they would be explicitly denying Darth's definition of God. But for whatever reason, Darth's getting bent onto shape. I'm like, no, you don't understand. When somebody tells me that there's nothing ultimate, what they're telling, that's an implicit denial of God. Well, in the sense that they're not calling the God ultimate. If ultimate equals God and God equals ultimate, and they're saying there's no such thing as an ultimate thing, then they're kind of explicitly denying God. I don't know why Darth has a problem with that. And I really don't understand why he seems to have an issue with that, whether it's an implicit denial or an explicit denial, when the real issue is what kind of denial, like I mentioned before, what kind of denial are we talking about here? Are we talking about the theological kind? That might not be the atheist's fault. That's attributed to the noetic effects of sin. If it's some kind of psychological denial, some Freudian kind of denial, I don't know why Darth doesn't tell these people to seek help with mental healthcare professionals. You know, seek help. Get a therapist. Oh, I know why. Because he hates them. You don't need that. You need Jesus. But apparently you need to do the math to get to Jesus, and once you've made the right conclusion and made the right purchase and invested in the right thoughts, then and turned those into beliefs, then cognitively you can get to Jesus.
I don't like to discuss my age, please.
Okay, I'm going to kick you out of the room, okay? Because unless you're a teenager, there's no excuse for your obtuseness right now.
When has Darth allowed being a teenager to be an excuse for obtuseness? That's a weird statement from him. Unless you're a teenager, there's no excuse for your obtuseness. He's never allowed obtuseness, what he identifies as obtuseness, which, that's a broad thing. He's never been patient with that when it comes from. He's never been patient with that when it comes from 12-year-olds, and I've heard him yell at 12-year-olds.
Well, I'm just.
Are you a teenager?
No, I'm just above my teens.
Okay, then you're a young man, and you should be able to be exercising better critical thinking skills than a teenager. It is not explicit; it is implicit.
Yeah, sorry, it's just not my first language, but I would think that.
Okay, well, your English is so good, I would not have never known. What is your?
Photog, he writes, I'm upset that I didn't think of an AI generated Darth. I had been playing around with a lot of them. The one that I'm using for my thumbnail is not mine. I have not been able to come up with one that good. That one came from a fan. I would mention their name on here, but I don't know if they want to. They're a fan of my channel, and they follow me on Twitter. And they DM'd me and sent me two. And they were very cool. I was really happy to get them. I've had them since December, but haven't used them yet. And got them converted the way I wanted. And yeah, that's the first one. So there's another one out there. I'll be throwing up as a thumbnail soon. Yeah, they were very cool. And I'm not sure which one he used to get them, but if he's watching, maybe he'll take credit for it in the comments.
Your original language.
I'm from Norway.
Oh, okay, all right, that explains it. Okay, I wish I had known. Okay,
Yeah, no worries.
so the point
Explains what?
is that the denial of God's existence can be both.
I almost would have been more satisfied if Darth had been like, "Oh, you're from Norway. Can you understand like I'm not exactly sure what he thinks of this guy. Oh, well that explains it. That explains what? Why you think that you're like it's Solan is capable of understanding English. It's not like he's talking to somebody with a beginning command of the language, and Darth is just throwing too much at. Darth is not being clear in what he's talking about. And when he asked questions and Solan was actually starting to give a good response, like, well, I think based on the definition of God that you're talking about, where it's the ground of all, and Darth shut him down. You don't, I mean, you don't need a language barrier to make that kind of communication difficult, next to impossible. The Darth just makes it impossible to talk to him because he needs to talk at you first and get the prompts. He needs to throw stuff at you and get the prompts back so he can continue. Jack, good to see you. Alleged Christians trying to logic their way to a faith claim. Must be a day ending in Y. Yeah. And in this one's defense, this is an old video. Three weeks old. I'm late to the party on this one, but this one, yeah, I mean, it's pretty typical. But Solan is keeping his cool, and I'm kind of surprised that he's lasted this long. Because Darth was like, "Oh, you're a young, and I'm going to kick you out," and Solan has held on.
Both explicit and implicit. It does not matter that the speaker is unaware that he's implicitly affirming something. Look, have you ever heard of logical fallacies?
Yeah.
Okay. Can people commit logical fallacies with being unaware of it?
For sure. I think it just
good. And somebody can deny the existence of God where they consciously, for whatever reason, are unaware that they're denying God because they want to think that the only way that God can be denied is explicitly rather than implicitly. So are we in agreement now that the denial of God can be both explicit and implicit?
Sure. I think
okay.
I've been.
All right. So when somebody affirms that facts exist, stand alone for whatever reason, without referencing the necessity of God,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the denial of God because they're saying God is not necessary.
No, that doesn't. Jesus.
But what I meant when I said that it's impossible to deny God implicitly is that would lead to absurdity. Is what I meant.
That's not what we're discussing.
Sure.
We're not talking about
Solan.
We're not talking.
I'm not sure what Solan means there, but you can hear in the tone of Darth's voice, and it's not just because I've got the speed increased to 1.25 that I think he's getting ready to pull the plug on him.
About the veridicalness, which means the truthiness.
Oh, I see.
Of the statement. We're talking about whether the claim is implicit or not whether it's veridical or possesses truthiness. Are you a theist or an atheist?
I would categorize myself as an agnostic.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So
enemy spotted. So AJ writes, the problem is the denial isn't in virtue of his own presuppositions. I think by his own you mean Solan's. The denial is only in virtue of Darth's presuppositions. Yeah. But that's that internal external critique boundary that Darth has a problem with. We've talked about this before, Darth Dawkins and his boundary issues. And it's not just in calling women honey and such. It's just, yeah.
Do you invoke facts without referencing the necessity of God?
Is that an ontological question?
Goodbye. All right, you're done.
Wait, what?
We're done. Goodbye.
What?
We're done. We're done. Okay.
Why?
All right. This is the little game that they play.
Love this. All the coded language and virtue signaling to the to the clingers. This is the little game that they play. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Can I get a what? I mean, these atheists just they pwn themselves. I mean, like, if you say specifics, please, and can you provide a diagram of what just happened and how does this equal what you claim it does? I'm just saying, they know what they did and they know what they know and they know that they're lying and they know that they're weasels and I know better because I am better. I'm built better. Thanks to Jesus. Praise to Jesus.
Dodge, dodge, dodge. Evade, evade, evade.
Bicker, bicker, bicker. You forgot that, Darth.
This is why it's a waste of time talking with most atheists.
And yet you persist.
Okay. No, put your hand down.
Okay. Oh, that's it for that. No, put your hand down. We will stop that one. Let's. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, here we go. So with that, yeah, did we learn anything? No. I mean, Solan sounded young. He admitted to being Norwegian, so he's a young man from Scandinavia. You'd think that'd be, you know, just starts. Sorry, but no, that's not gonna cut it. Not for Darth. It ends with him doing what he usually does, signaling to the boys and girls in the Christian Fundy world. You see what they're like. You see what they do. And I'm guessing that behind, in front of their screens at home, they're all like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, nodding their heads, pursing their lips, like, yes, Jesus. I mean, just I condemn that to Jesus in the name of Jesus. Yep. So let's see if I missed anything here in the chats before we move on. Um, there's a little chatting going on. Yeah, there is a new one going on with a new video that Atheist Discussions dropped today, where Darth had a conversation with Amber Rose, because she's been on Clubhouse. She's a Clubhouse user, and she gets a little interested in some of these things, so she'll show up, and I gotta hand it to Darth. Regardless of her celebrity status, he's every bit as repugnant, disrespectful, and despicable to her as he is to everyone else. So I mean, he really is an equal opportunity offender. I will give him credit for that. Um, Norway equals the birthplace of trolls and everything. Yeah, okay, all right. Lucky Wolf. Yeah, you have a point there. You have a point. That's probably why he was a little. Darth was sounding a little tight in the throat, a little defensive. All right, here we go. Barthology goes for Legion of Doom Employee of the Month.
I notice you have Darth Dawkins on here, and I also notice that you make him a mod. Now, I'm not going to engage with him. I'm not going to prevent you or anybody else engaging with him or doing anything else. But if I do see him abusing mods, and if he kicks me off the stage because I'm not going to engage with him while he's a mod.
Rob, very quickly.
I'm going to hang on a moment, please.
Yeah,
just hang on a second.
It was me. It was me.
Barth,
Him.
I'm going to blame you. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But whoever it is, well, I think Barth is the room owner. So ultimately, Barth, I'm going to blame you, right? If he comes on here and you make him a mod and he abuses those mods, which is very likely to happen, I'm not going to blame him. I'm going to blame you, aka a few good men. And I won't tell you now in public, but that blame will entail some, unpleasant consequences. So I'm just telling you that up front. I'm not going to engage with him if he's a mod on here because he abuses mod. If you make me a mod and he's not a mod and he wants to challenge me, then I will deal with him. But I won't deal with it the other way around. So I'm just letting you know that if that happens, then I'm personally blaming you and not him, or not even Knowledge here, because Knowledge has heard this, but it's ultimately your room, so your responsibility.
Knowledge, I got a question. Knowledge, what's the bond strategy?
Hold on one second. Hold on a second.
Okay, so we start out this one in this particular Clubhouse room. The only context that I have for this is I think this is associated with this idea of Darth kind of coming into these rooms and then sort of demanding terms from people. And I don't think, with the exception of that new one, I don't know how many videos he's been hosting on his own lately, because he doesn't usually leave the replays on. I'm not really on Clubhouse really at all anymore, so unless you catch one of his things live, the replays aren't on. And it's only when he kind of comes into one of these where there's a replay where these ones are more likely to get caught. And I think this room, as far as I can tell, Bart and I said Knowledge, are the only two people with mods. So I'm guessing one of the two of them did it. And I think the Legion of Doom is their room or house or whatever Clubhouse calls them. So Rob seems to be laying down this kind of thing, like, look, if we're going to engage in each other, if you're just going to allow him this kind of mod abuse, I'm going to know that it's you that enabled it, right? That's the only way Darth would be able to do it, is if Rob gave, or if Bart gave Darth mods, denied them to Rob, so that Darth can mute Rob and kick him, and throw him back down into the audience, or block him, and kick him out. Although more than likely Rob is already blocked, so if Darth came in there and then was given mod powers and kicked Rob out, Rob would be he would be denied from coming back into the room until it was over. Actually, he would be denied from watching any replays of it too, because of that, unless Clubhouse has updated that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So, but he's kind of laid this out. Rob has laid this out to Bart, and I think for the most part, it sounds like, and we didn't hear the beginning of it, but it sounds like it's mostly fair. Like, Bart, this is your show. I get that, but if Darth comes in here, you expect us to engage or whatever, and I see him get mods, and now he can kick me around, but you don't offer the same level of control so that we have power parity in this room. I'm not going to blame Darth. I'm going to blame you. Fair enough. This does not set well with Barthology.
Yeah, Rob, if you want to threaten me, you know what I mean? Like, I've never threatened you. All we have on here is conversation. If you want to threaten me because of someone else's actions, you think you're justified. It truly shows why you do not believe in God, because you just lack proper justification.
I would say, well, this is an example of some real, like, some cognitive bias that comes from a lot of believers, when a person says, look, if these circumstances occur this way, the only way that they did occur that way is because a person in a position of responsibility allowed those circumstances to come into place. And that person in this hypothetical situation is you, Barth. So if that comes to pass, you will be the one. It follows that you are the one that would be responsible for it, and I will hold you responsible if this goes down. That's not a threat. There's nothing about that as a threat. Barth has just decided, oh, that's a threat. You're going to come on here and threaten me? Who the hell are you to threaten me? He's not out. This is staggering.
On anything. If you're going to take a silly conversation and you being knocked down as so serious as not wanting to speak to somebody again, I mean, I'm going to just tell you right now, Rob, you don't need an excuse on not to talk to me again. If you don't want to talk to me again,
That's true. No one should want to talk to Barth.
or you want me to suffer some sort of consequence, don't wait. Just do it.
So Barth is now saying, I want you to hold me accountable as if it happened. If you're going to come in here and give me these conditions, you might as well hold me accountable as if it already happened. That isn't even reasonable. That's just a weird thing to do.
Don't make up an excuse
He didn't make up an excuse.
on why you want to do what you want to do already.
Well, obviously, I don't.
So
want to do
if
that
you
already.
if you
Otherwise
want
I
to
would have
act
done that.
in that way, listen, Rob. if you want to act that way on someone else's actions and blame me for it, just don't even bother blaming someone else's actions on me. Just do it.
No,
Just
I'm not blaming
act
someone
as
else's
if you
actions. I'm
want.
blaming your actions.
Well, all
So
right.
you're not following here. It's
I'm
like
not
God with
following.
evil, right? I would blame God for the evil, not the human beings that he created. Right? In the same way, the fact that you allow that to happen, that's the blame that I'm going to have. I don't dislike you per se, and if I'd had some excuse already, I would have done so. I'm just making it clear that if you allow that to happen, I am going to blame you. You're ultimately responsible
Well,
for
you
that
could just
because it's
blame me
your
now.
Richard Betts, right, and that's going to come with certain consequences I'm not going to mention on air, is definitely threatening. Did he say that? Did Rob say that? I'm not going to mention it because that could just mean that he would block him, right? That could just be that, or that maybe he would take it even further and I don't know, try to file some complaint with the powers that be at Clubhouse, like this guy allows people to come in, gives them mods so that they can abuse people and kick them around instead of allowing for. I don't know. I don't know how you get away. I don't know how you do anything like that on Clubhouse, but yeah, I mean, I've talked to Rob a couple of times. I've known him. Um, if he's making a quote unquote threat, its threatening action extends and ends. It extends only to the realm of Clubhouse, and it ends there. Um, unless somebody knows Rob better than I do and knows that well, Rob actually works for MI5 and will get into your he'll get into your bank account or something. Like I don't know. My experience with him is that he wouldn't do that. The only thing he's holding him accountable for, like, look, if you're going to start kicking me out of these kinds of rooms or stuff, the consequences are, I'm holding you responsible. I'm not going to, and that's going to lead to consequences like what? He's not going to show up. He's going to block him. He's going to do everything he can to make other people block. I don't know. Who knows? So he's just not going into details on it. But then again, I could be wrong. Maybe Rob gets a little sinister.
You can blame me now. There's going to be certain people, okay, that I'm going to be friends with, and no one's going to tell me who I could not be friends with.
That's not the point. The point isn't whether or not he's got friends. The point is whether or not he's like, I'm going to bring this guy in here and then give him mods so that he can kick around people in here I want to see get kicked around. I think that's Rob's point.
They were saying the same thing about Andre. Oh, don't make him a mod. Don't be friends with him. You're going to suffer the consequences. I mean, you serious, Rob? Do you know how many times? So I'm going to tell you this, Rob. If I'm on a stage with you and Haiti does something to me while you're on stage, you're going to suffer the consequences. Okay? So I'm just going to you want to do it to me.
Okay, that would only matter if Haiti gave Rob mods, told Rob to engage in a conversation with Bart, and Bart didn't have mods too, and then told Rob to start kicking and muting him and all this kind of stuff. That would be the only real parallel that I would see there. He's just going to say, like, well, if I see you in a room associated with other people that I don't like, I'm going to hold you responsible. Like, what? That's not, that doesn't even, there's no parity there. That doesn't match.
Me? It's fine. I'm so happy this is recorded.
All right,
I'll do it to
we
you.
can do both of those things. So let's be clear what we're both saying to each other here. If it's the case that Heidi's a mod and she, quote, abuses her mod in a way that I agree with, which I won't disagree necessarily, because sometimes I think she can be over the top. If she is a mod in that case, then I will take your, what's the word? I will accept the blame that you offer. But of course, that's not necessarily going to be analogous because the rooms that I run, I only have certain mods, and Hades is not one of them. I have a clear set of mods that I think are neutral, and that includes.
She doesn't even need to be a mod.
Room.
This is the whole thing. Like, you can knock me down from the stage to the audience to let her in. I'm gonna let you know that right now. Like, if someone does that on your stage, I'm gonna blame you for it.
Okay, well,
like I don't have to
quite happy to
agree with the same.
I think
Like,
that's a
listen
minor
to me.
thing.
Listen to me, Rob. You want to play this childish game? I'm going to tell you right now. I could just be way more childish than you can. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I've never.
It's kind of a weird thing to brag about, Bart. He said, No, that Rob gave Haiti mods and she pulled a Darth and Barth would hold Rob accountable. Yeah, I mean that's what Rob repeated back to Bart. No, I get that, but the way Bart said it, it was like it didn't seem like it was on parallel. It was like, wait, what are you talking about? It almost just sounded like, well, not if you happen to be in a room with somebody. I'm probably reading too loose into that. I mean, but this is the guy that said, "Hey, why don't you hold me accountable for what you think I'm going to do, as if I did it now." That was how that was sort of his initial reaction to what Rob said. So I wouldn't put it past him to be this kind of off track already.
Never given you an ultimatum. I've never told you any sort of anything. Like, you're coming totally out of your face right now. All right.
Out of your
And you know what?
face.
You know what you're really doing. What you're telling.
He's coming out of his face. Is that maybe that's a Staten Island thing? Justin said this guy's got some Staten Island energy. Maybe he does. No disrespect to Staten Island. I've actually always wanted to see it. Rob doesn't sound like, if coming out of your face means like you're coming unglued or you're losing it. Rob doesn't seem like he's losing it. Maybe this is Rob's losing it voice. I don't know. I don't know Rob well enough to know.
Me is that I have to accept the fact that you're going to speak to me in this way, and I still have to be better than you, right?
Okay. When did Rob already said that he would accept you holding him accountable if his behavior was equivalent, but then he also said he wouldn't do that because he doesn't have mods like that. He doesn't allow mods to do that kind of thing. And now Bart has said,
I have to be better than you, even though you're a shitty person.
He's actually trying to get you to live up to the standard he's saying he sets, Bart. Not be better than. Unless Bart's going to present a case where, well, you did this in the past. You clearly you weren't living up to the standard you're trying to hold me to now. I haven't heard Bart say that yet, though.
Towards me right now for someone else's actions. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
No, it's not someone else's actions if you give an abusive person mods to go after people who are not protected by those same mods. You enabled them and gave them more power in the room to push people around. So Rob's initial setup was not, I'm not blaming you for what I'm not just going to blame Darth for this. Like, Darth comes in and does this kind of stuff and then he starts muting and kicking people, but he's doing that because you gave him the mods in the first place. And I've heard Rob say things similar to this before, or to this effect. Like, if you've got somebody like Darth, you should have the maturity to know that he does not deserve mods because he'll ruin a clubhouse room.
Following? No, you're not following.
I'm not.
Okay, so
I
I'll
heard
explain
you
it to you. Let
threatening
me
me.
explain
That's all I
it to you.
heard.
Rob, stand down. Stand down, okay?
I heard you
Look.
threatening me. Like, do you honestly
There's
think,
no,
Rob,
well,
you
it depends
you
what you mean
honestly
by
give me
know
give me one
who you're
fucking
threatening?
second. Do you know who the fuck you're talking to?
I'm
just gonna ask you this.
Yeah, I know who you are.
You
Do
know who
you
the
know,
fuck,
Rob,
I'll
right?
explain
who you're
I'll
You know who
explain
the
it
fuck
again,
you're
Bob,
talking
because you're
to?
missing something.
Let me get my fucking glasses on. Hold on.
Let me put my glasses on. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what this is supposed to be. If Rob was out of line using the word consequences, coming at anybody with, do you know who you're fucking talking to? I don't know exactly how am I supposed to take that? Is Rob going to, if Rob was on this side of the Atlantic, or maybe Pacific, I don't know where he's. I think maybe Rob's from South Africa. I can't tell with his accent. I'm not sure where he's from. But if he was over here, would he just, I don't know, end up in a dumpster somewhere?
Oh shit!
Yeah,
It's getting
the
serious.
difference here is
I'm gonna
there's
go out to
one
my
thing that
fucking
makes
car
the
right
difference
now.
here. So listen
Just give me a
quickly,
second.
Bob,
I'm gonna go out to my car for a minute.
because otherwise you're going to misconstrue what I'm
No,
saying.
just stay right
Wait,
there.
Barth, are you gonna
Yeah,
pop
Yeah, you're going to
the?
misconstrue
Wait,
it.
This, I don't know what kind of thing this is. Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my glasses on. I'm gonna step outside. I'm gonna go to my car. And I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Jesus Christ.
But then explain it to you because you're already
Barth, are you
missing the
gonna
point.
pop the trunk?
5 minutes later.
All right, let me address Rob here for a second. Rob, the other day you were telling me that I should be more patient, and when people talk to me, I shouldn't react right away. I should just let them berate me with insults and not defend myself,
that I'm better than that. So I said, all right, he's got a point. I'll take the back seat on shit like that. I'll let them say whatever the fuck they want. All right.
Yeah, warning to anybody with headphones, you might want to turn it down just a little bit because, yeah, he starts sounding like, yeah. Well, I think a decent comparison will come to me once I hear this again. It's been a minute.
On top of that, now you're telling me that I'm not allowed to mod people that I like to have around, and you're not going to blame whoever it is that I give mods to. You're going to blame me for their actions.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we settle this? Because you're basically threatening me right now. As if I've been on these platforms. You know who the fuck I am. Like, I've never ever reached out to you and said, Rob, please let me in your group because I'm over here drowning and I have no friends.
Believe it or not, Nick, no. This is his actual, this is his voice.
It's never been said. Like, I already have friends. Okay?
Really?
You think I'm here and I have to cater to you. Like, that's basically what you're saying to me right now in front of everybody. I have to cater to you, or I owe you something, and I need to listen to your requests. If not, I'm going to suffer some sort of unknown consequence. Well, I'll just let you know, Rob, right now. Act as if I'm going to make anyone who I want a fucking mod, and they're going to do anything to you. Just act as if. Because if you're going to talk to me like that, right, I might as well take it as if you're that's it. You're already en route. You're already in action. I've never spoken to you like that.
Yeah, so
Maybe you've been hanging out.
let me be clear what I'm
you've been
saying.
hanging out. Listen to me. Maybe you've been hanging out with too many fucking females, okay? Too many wannabe Irish gypsy fucking females.
Huh? What?
That you think you can get away with the same shit that fucking bitch does. Well, let me tell you, you just reduced yourself to a female. You reduced yourself to a cunt rag. That's what you just did. You basically reduced yourself, your manhood, to be a little bitch.
So, I mean, really gold crown to Bart for really missing the point, I think, on most of this. And, I mean, not overreacting at all. I mean, clearly. And I really like the way he kept this from any trace of misogyny. I mean, oh, Lord, what a traffic accident this guy is.
I'm just letting you know. That's what you did. Because
on the contrary,
men don't need to talk to each other like you just spoke to me. Like, women do stuff like that. Women do the whole, if you're friends with the friend, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. Like, who says that? Like, what man says you can't be friends with who you can be friends with?
He didn't say that.
To be my friend. Like, who says that?
Rob didn't say that.
Yeah, you're
So
a little bit confused. So let me clarify things for you.
Maybe you've been hanging out with this Irish gypsy cart
He's so enraged that it's actually slowing down the internet.
too long, and it's starting to get to your fucking head. Okay? I don't need you, and I don't need anybody. I'll be up on this fucking stage with who the fuck I want to be with. Did you hear that?
I hope he doesn't stab somebody in the neck with a pen. I mean, I hope he's not near anybody. And pens.
Yeah, look, you can be emotional and carry on like a lunatic. I'll clarify for you.
Me triggered. I got my fucking
Yeah,
car.
trigger doesn't bother me. Look, you can carry on.
That is classic. You want to hear me triggered? I got into my fucking car. Like, well, Congratulations, Bart. I mean, all of us are honored, and what a privilege it is to watch a grown man just gorge on his emotions in the privacy of his own car. I can only imagine that any passersby at this moment, who happened to see him rocking back and forth, white foam flopping from his lips and head, weren't terrified at all, and weren't thinking, maybe we should call the cops. And then maybe thought better of it because they're like, we call the cops on this guy. That's it. What we need is a wellness check. We need a social worker to show up here. With a tranquilizer gun loaded with Thorazine. And yeah, Irish gypsy females refers to Haiti Braun on stage. I don't know what he meant because I think he said like wannabe Irish gypsy. I don't know what that means when he says that about Haiti because Haiti's not Irish. I'm pretty sure she's from England originally. She's American now, as far as I know. I believe she's an American citizen.
I'm not a lunatic. That doesn't bother me.
You want the business? I'll give you the business.
I'll give you the
You
business.
couldn't give me the business if I gave you a manual on how to give the business. You still couldn't do it. Look, just chill out.
Okay, so in all fairness, Rob now is just like poking the honey badger, at the peak of its adrenaline burst. So I condemn this action by Rob, and I also secretly applaud it because bravo, mate. Just keep getting that thing to spin up. See if it reaches critical mass.
Then don't be around when I'm around. How about that?
Chill out.
We'll make a peace. Don't fucking
Just chill out. You're getting all emotional now.
Stupid app. You and
It is a stupid ad, Barth, but you're the one risking giving yourself a stroke in the comfort of your own car over what you just said is an app. Weird.
say that shit to me. I'm 6 foot and gorgeous. You wouldn't say that shit to me in my face.
Oh, I would, my friend.
Mind?
Oh, I would.
No, I bet you wouldn't.
You don't know me.
Rob, shut up.
I guarantee you I would.
Rob, you really need to shut up. That's what you need to do.
You stop having.
Who is that guy? I don't know if I made it this far before. I watched most of it, but I was laughing so hard I couldn't hear the rest of it after Bart did that whole like audition for Scorsese thing. Is it gay to be in the presence of women, fellas? Given the other things that Bart said, this seems consistent with his worldview. Yeah. And kind of that like Goodfellas, yeah, the guys, if you please a woman down there, if you go down on her, there's something wrong, that guy's he's a little weird. Like, yeah, okay, he's okay. I think Bart is probably in line with that, but just a hint of Andrew Dice Clay, yeah. Gypsies and Irish. Does this guy live in 1930s Brooklyn to think those are bad groups to hang out with? I mean, in his head, I think he hopes it's still the 30s in Brooklyn, but it's the Brooklyn version of Ross. Let me get caught up here. This guy does realize Sopranos has been off the air for a long time now, right? The business. Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Dice Clay meets Joe Pesci. Meltdown meets Carl from Aqua Teen after getting his life ruined by Master Shake after listening to too much. What is that? Red Pill? Red Pill nonsense and Dee Dee and a binge watch of Jersey Shore. Yeah, that might do it. That's kind of the energy he's putting out there.
You shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up. I don't know who you're talking to. You all down there. Shut up.
You just some sort of cheerleading babbler in the background there. So, Bart, let me clarify what I said, because of course you got emotional, so you overreacted. All I said to you is the following. I'm going to blame you if he is a moderator and insist that
why are you blaming him? Why does it matter? Why do you care so much?
Then kicks me. Hey, stop talking.
Yo, listen, Rob.
Don't every time just stop talking.
Mod in this chat. He's already a mod in this chat. So do what you got to do.
Did you hear what I said? See, the problem is when you get emotional,
and you don't need to finish the sentence. I heard what the fuck you said.
What did I say?
I was laying in my 1,200 count fucking sheets, chilling, not out in the cold, and you got me hot.
It's not really the count. It's the. Never mind.
to go out to my fucking car. I started warming the shit up, and I made myself a coffee.
Okay, so you got hot because of the 1200 count thread, the 1200 thread count sheets you were on, and you had to go out to your car, not only to scream but to cool off with the screaming and the cup of coffee. Tracks?
Yo, Rob, he's already a mod. So act as if. Act as if. You already said what you needed to say. I'm perfectly fine with it. Act
Good.
as if he's going to come on here
We'll wait and
and
see if it
embarrass the
happens.
shit out of you. That's it.
We'll
End of
wait and see if it
discussion.
happens. Then I
It's
will
going to
blame you.
happen.
Rob,
If I
shut up.
Welcome,
Like, shut
welcome,
up.
Jason.
DM him, I might DM him.
You know, shit, I don't like Jason. Jason is another fucking weirdo too, with his long ass head.
I'm going to tell him to do it in my name. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, you know what?
Oh, thanks,
Do it in
Galaxy.
the
I love you
name
too.
of Barth. Okay?
Yeah, yeah, welcome,
Must be
Jason.
out of
So,
your
Jason,
fucking.
do you have a reason why you don't believe in God, or you think God is unlikely to exist?
Thank you, Tom Rabbittt.
Indeed. After all that crap, Jason Thorne goes, yeah, he's in there like, oh yeah, hey, what are you doing in here, you sinful non-believer? Like, oh, I wonder if Jason heard all that. I'm sure he probably did. He probably had his hand raised for a while. He likes coffee, dogs, daughters, no big whoop. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I'll end with my. I think I talked about this a little bit. I ran into him once on Clubhouse, and I think my brother was in there at the same time, and it was him and an idiot named E-Bike Jesus, who on YouTube goes by PMars when he's not banned for trolling. And he they were running somebody down on this whole kind of shtick, and I just basically asked him, like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you offering here? And Bart there, he was like, no, you don't have anything. You don't know what you're talking about. Ah. And I was like, okay. I'm like, do you go to church, Bart? Like, what are you selling here? Because it seems like I should believe in Jesus, but why? What do you mean why? And I'm like, well, do you go to church? Do you have a congregation that you go to, like a group of believers that you hang out with? No. Cool. E-bike? Do you go to church? I happen to know for a fact he doesn't, because he's mentioned it many times that he doesn't. And neither of them did. So I'm like, so you guys just come out of social media and use Jesus as a way to your position on your belief in Jesus to what? Harass people who don't believe in Jesus? But, if they were like, okay, let's say that I'm amenable to your views. I want to be a Christian. What happens next? Oh, well, you can join us in our clubhouse room where we yell at people who don't believe in Jesus. Okay, but what else? Do I get to go to church? I mean, what denomination should I join? I mean, what can I look forward to? I mean, should I be a member of a particular denomination? Maybe should I avoid that? Anything? Do you guys do any of that kind of stuff? Nope. I think Bart checks in once a year, if that, because he's Catholic. And he likes Darth Dawkins because he's admitted to people. He likes Darth Dawkins because Darth Dawkins sounds like some of those old guys from down the way. You just have to know how to deal with them. You have to know how to, like, I'm like, okay, if you're dealing with somebody, like, if the culture that you were raised in was that you had to deal with a personality that basically was a disorder. It was a personality disorder, not it's not merely temperamental. And the best way to deal with them was to figure out how to negotiate their emotions like you were trying to disarm a bomb. You have developed some codependency habits that are probably not great. You also probably have a little bit of trauma that's not great. And you probably have some very fucked up expectations about life in general and interpersonal relationships between men, women, regardless of their roles, and just humanity and the world and the natural order of things and all things. Fine, we all have blind spots, but holy shit, he was basically making excuses like, no, you just don't understand. Guys like Darth, this is how they talk. This is an East Coast thing, yeah, take no guff from nobody, do this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Move on, grow, adapt, evolve. And you would think like, okay, don't evolve because that's a dirty word. Obviously, that means mutate, and that's a sinful thing or something like that. Allow the Holy Spirit to really work in you and really demonstrate those fruits of peace and patience and long suffering and kindness and a gentle nature towards others, especially those that would persecute you and condemn you and seek to harm you. Wait, sorry, that's not Jesus. Um, that's not their Jesus. E-bike is also a crazy anti-Semite, like most traditional Catholics. Yeah, I mean the anti-Semitism thing from e-bike has been around for a while because he's kind of a conspiracy monger and just a world. I mean, he's a blue ribbon ding dong. Um, but yeah, yeah, with that. So yeah, I managed to shut the two. I mean, I shut them down for a while. Neither one of them really had anything to say to me because I was asking them like, hey, tell me what you're getting out of your Christianity other than this empty bullshit on Clubhouse, and that's all they had. I was like, cool. Sounds like a great sales pitch, guys. Keep working on it. So yeah, I mean, it kind of figures. You kind of expect that from a guy. Like, I got hot in my 1,200 thread count sheets. I had to cool off with a cup of coffee and a meltdown. I'm like, all right, okay, healthy. Just, oh my God, love that setup. I'm gonna put on my glasses. Excuse me while I flip the fuck out. Like, all right, Bart is, yeah. So if he didn't get Employee of the Month for the Legion of Doom, I don't know, but I mean, he's not. I mean, he's the founder of the Legion of Doom. I think that's his room. So, um, I'm gonna drink Jack and Coke and play PS5. It's weird. I didn't read that out loud in the kind of like in my attempted Staten Island accent, but I wanted to. It sounded that way in my head. So thanks everybody, folks, for being here. This was a short one. Just wanted to cover those two. I think the next one I'm going to cover Atheist Discussions new one, that one where Darth is talking to Amber Rose, because that sounds like it's going to be interesting. So thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the support. It's been fun. I hope all of you guys stay well. Hopefully I will get to that next video sometime this weekend. If I don't, I will see you guys probably early next week. So take care, everybody. Until next time.